Welcome to Digital Security. Our learning outcomes for today is to define digital security, list and explain known security issues, explain online safety and best practice in protecting yourself online, discuss what online privacy is and the importance of terms and conditions, list and explain the various security tools and methods, and discuss the different security techniques available. Let's get started. So for the introduction in your module manual, they're just discussing that there's a lot of cybercrimes out there. There's a lot of computer crimes and online threats. The examples they start off with is child pornography, identity theft, fraud, and you could probably name so many others like maybe catfishing, maybe hacking, maybe sort of stealing online, harassment, cyberbullying. They're all sort of cybercrimes out there. And the whole point of this element is to make you as a digital citizen aware that there is a need for digital security. There needs to be protective measures to protect ourselves and others from these cyber crimes. So let's get started with the definition of digital security. The definition of it by security in a box in the model manual is it refers to ensuring the ability to use digital information and information systems without interference, disruption, unauthorized access, or data collection. Ribble 2011 defines it as electronic precautions to guarantee digital safety. So this is in essence what it means, digital security, is to make sure there are things put in place for things that are interfering, that are cyber crime related, and anything that can protect us in the digital world. The security issues that you can sort of protect yourself is, and you need to protect yourself with these devices because they're at risk of malware or malicious software, otherwise known as malware. This software can steal data, it can bypass any controls, it can harm the computer. And in this part of the work, we're going to be talking about all the sort of things that can harm the computer in terms of the different kinds of malware, otherwise known as malicious software. So the first one is adware. Adware is short for advertising supported software, and it's supposed to just deliver ads, but it can also start to spy on you. So the ads will be put on there, and it's not always the case, but it can track your user activity, these ad-supported softwares, and the most common way is that you will download something. It'll often be advertised as a free version of something, but as once it's downloaded onto your computer, it's going to track and spy on what maybe when you put in your password, your financial account details, and so on. So what this looks like is it's pop-ups on websites or anything that's going to be a free version of an application or a download. Adware is generally sponsored by advertisers and is a revenue generating tool. So it should look innocent enough. It's just going to be a little ad on the website. You accidentally click on it, and before you know it, you have something malicious on your computer, eating away at your computer, looking at what you're doing. So be very careful with pop-ups in specific. And the things you can do with adware for blocking it is to set up adware controls and to limit ad software. So look into that of the different sort of adware protection security measures. The next one is bot, and these are little software programs and little robots. They're called botnets, and they are going to also perform a specific function, they say here, very maliciously. It can be rather harmless, created for video gaming, internet auctions, and context, but they can be used for malicious purposes. So most websites can guard bots. So they're like these little robots, and they're supposed to sort of get in there and maliciously tear away at your computer. But then to make sure that there isn't these robots going into different applications, that's why we have CAPTCHA, otherwise known as completely automated public Turing tests by Alan Turing, to tell computers and humans apart. So when you go into a website, you might be asked to click on the different buses or the different trains, that sort of thing, and you might think, this is such a hassle to do, but it's supposed to just block things that could just maliciously be put in there by the robotic sort of system on there, and it's supposed to differ between robots and humans. Now, I don't know if it's ever happened to you that you failed these CAPTCHA tests. I mean, I have failed, and then I had to question my own identity. Am I even a human? And to this day, I don't know. So be very careful when you are doing the CAPTCHA tests, because then you're going to question your identity as a person. Did you know that you're unwittingly helping in a project to translate old text, magazines, and newspaper articles are being transformed into digital format? No? Well, those 10 seconds it takes for you to translate the code or image is not time wasted. You are doing something that the computer cannot do. You are helping to digitize books. And then please look in your lesson plan about more about what exactly is capture tests, and there is a TED talk on this. And they give an example at the bottom saying, these are the hardest ones when you have to write out the word. I prefer the images, they're way better. Okay, the next one is general bugs. So bugs are flaws in a program, and it can be undetected for quite some time, a long time, and then slowly but surely your computer is crashing or it's freezing, or in the youth terms, I think it's called hacking. I don't know, that was back in the day when something is freezing completely. And the worst is, they say, are security bugs that allows third parties to bypass the user's authentication, override access privileges, and steal data. So this is once again a malware software that's going to go into the computer. You might not actually find it at all, and then it's going to slowly break down your computer. And then the hacker who might be using this bug can steal your passwords and your information. And then if you look on the right in your model manual, you'll see examples of what is the bug called Heartbleed, where they were hacking to steal people's personal and financial information. Then we have ransomware, and this is a form of a malware that behaves like a worm. Essentially, it's going to attack the computer, encrypt the data or software that's on the system, and then they're going to sort of hold your information for ransom. And if you only pay a certain amount that they put in there, then you can get the information back. It's quite intrusive, quite invasive. And the most common way for a computer to be infected by malware is through downloads. Okay, that's quite a horrible one to go through, is to have your information hacked and then the person holding your information on there for ransom. Then we have rootkits. This malware is hard to detect because it steals your data, it modifies the system, and alters the software. The only way to understand if you have a rootkit malware is to do a manual search and continuously monitor your system. It's going to look like everything's normal, but suddenly there's going to be irregular behavior. It might, start to delete things like that. And the best way to avoid it is to update your software and make sure that if something is happening on there, to recognize, hey, maybe I do have a malware currently. The next one is regular spyware. They have some examples here like HuntBar, Door, NewNet, Bargain Buddy. These are all spying on user activity without their knowledge, and they're also going to pick up on how you type on the keyboard. So it's quite horrible. So if you start typing certain things on the keyboard, they might recognize that as one of your passwords. They might take any sort of information you have out there and modify your security settings as well. It's going to be the best way to counter this sort of malware. They also say try to modify your network connections as well. And spyware tends to be bundled with legitimate software as well as Trojans. Then to explain what is the Trojan horse, there's actually a story about this, the Greek story. I don't know if you guys know about it, but I could get the information a little bit fuzzy. Maybe you guys can research it a little bit for me. But there was a war between the Greeks and the Trojan cultures. They were at war with each other. And then one day they decided, you know what, let's just leave it. Let's have a ceasefire. We're all good. And then the Trojans decided to give the Greek sort of society a present. And it was a wooden horse, which is quite nice of them. Known as the Trojan horse. So they decided, okay, we're going to stop fighting. We're going to give you this present. The Trojans decided, people from Troy, and give the Greeks this wooden horse. And then the Greek people were like, thank you so much. And they took it inside their village, inside their gates. And then later that night, it was like a Tuesday night or something, the Trojan men soldiers emerged from the wooden horse and killed all the people and won the war. So that's I could get mixed up. Maybe it was, different sides, but that's in essence the story. And the idea behind this malware is it looks like a normal file, but slowly and surely it's deleting, modifying your files. It's watching you. It's completely disrupting everything. So it's going to look like a normal file. Nothing is going to happen. It's not going to crash your computer instantly, but slowly and surely it's going to eat away at your computer. It's the worst, one of the worst Trojan horse viruses and malware out there. Okay, the next one is just generic viruses, copying and spreading itself to computers. Usually if you borrow someone USB and stuff, their virus is going to go into your computer and so onward. So a way to just kind of counter this is to do system runs, make sure there isn't any viruses on the technology. And the viruses can be very malicious to stealing your information, stealing money, or just stealing your data, and so on. And then they give some examples on the example pile there. Example column. Okay, and then lastly is worms. Worms is also a type of malware, and it can sort of harm over networks, exploit the operating system of the computer, and it can also consume bandwidth and overload web servers. In some cases, computer worms contain payloads, a piece of code written to perform actions, steal your data, and so on. And then other things they're just mentioning is if ever you feel that your computer is infected by a malware, because I know you're thinking about it right now, what if I have a malware? Because we're talking about it so much, so maybe you feel like your computer does have it. Try to see if your computer is slow at times, if you can't find certain files, if there is obviously freezing and crashing, if there's any kind of strange computer behavior where things are moving around without you moving it around. Your computer just suddenly switches itself off, there might be a more malware, malicious software on your computer. Okay, so before we get to this section, we're going to go into the next video clip. I'll see you then, which is digital fraud and crime.